So welcome everybody to Speaker Pro, the show that I throw on here every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to serve speakers. I'm going to tell you quickly who I am, because who really cares? And these two ladies, I'm going to tell you who these two ladies are. And then we're going to talk about the best social media strategy, or how to design the best social media strategy for speakers. So one, they get noticed by organizations. Two, they get noticed by other speakers and then are referred. Because the object of the game, at least in my world and for most people that are here, is we want to get paid as speakers and we want to be recognized as speakers. So over here, this is my partner in crime and a very, very dear friend of mine, Joanne Del Balso. We're actually in the same office. She's in another room.
Don't tell them that.
Yeah, so
that was a secret.
We were working this morning, and when we've been working on our event, which is coming up in about 23 days. And Joanne is an accountant, but she is also a social media enthusiast, a speaker, and a consultant. And she has helped me personally incredibly with my social media and my website. So I'm very grateful for her. Mamika, I have to thank you because you worked it so your child could be taken care of and you can be on this blab, and I really, really appreciate that.
Sure, no problem.
And you can, of course, talk a little bit more about yourselves, but I really want to get to content. But Mamika Cooney is a branding and video marketing specialist, an author and a speaker. She plays with Blab. She plays with Periscope. This is her game. So welcome, ladies. And we're missing one person, and he was with Kim Garst. And I don't know if he'll be popping in. He was scheduled for today, but it's Periscope Ryan. If you're familiar with Ryan Steinolfson. And Ryan is a branding strategist, speaker, and consultant too. But right now it's the trio. So welcome everybody. And please tell a little bird, let's fill this room. There's 11 of us in now. The purpose of Speaker Pro is to educate each and every one of you so you have the tools you need to go out, make money, and grow. So let's start with the primary question. I know that when you start a business, and I'll throw this at you first, Joanne, everybody that starts a business wants to get noticed and struggles. What I notice when it comes to speaking, whether it's a keynote event or a conference, is I have to get myself out in front of people. And the way I have to do that, especially out to the world, because I'm in New York State, is to utilize social media. So I'll start with a general question and we'll grow organically from there. What platform, in your opinion, do you think is best for an aspiring or established speaker to start using so they get noticed?
Of course, that's a tough question, because I don't honestly think there is one specific platform that they may need to be on. For me, what it comes down to, if you are a speaker, what needs to happen is you need to be found. First and foremost, you need to be found via search. So I would say you need to make sure that you have your social profiles written up so that they are packed solid with your keywords that you want to be seen for on social media. So I would have to say at least number one, whether how engaged you are on it, is you need to have a decent Google Plus profile, because it's Google's platform and everybody searches Google. So even if you're not that active on the platform, at least please grab your name, get a profile set up there. And when I say keyword bio, I mean that you need to have your profile written so that you have your keywords jam-packed in there and you have it consistent across all your social platforms. That way, when people are out searching for those particular keynotes and those particular speakers for their event, they are actually going to be able to find you. All right. So that would be, I would have to say, your number one strategy is that you're going to want to make sure that your social media is such that you can be seen for the search engine optimization purposes.
Simon A. Marketing says Google Plus is a waste of time, never took off, and never will. Is it the keywords that make a difference?
I'm not really saying to use Google Plus. Okay, I'm not saying to use Google Plus. You just need to be there. You just need to use the profile and just be able to have your name and your profile up there, because it does get indexed for search, and that's why you need to be on there. But as far as a social platform, you don't need to be socially on there. You need to work on using LinkedIn to get your connections up, and using, your Facebook strategies, and possibly having your own Facebook group so that you can actually build, your social following through there. So again, it's just making sure you can be able to be found using keywords. And if you don't want to be on Google Plus, then just make sure you have a good content marketing strategy so that people can find you through your blog posts and stuff.
Mamika, add to that. It's interesting because are you
watching? I have to disagree, and I do not think Google Plus is the first strategy, but I hear what you're saying. You want to be indexed. Google is the biggest search engine, but I have to agree with, so Simon is also saying, I still really believe that YouTube, and of course I know I'm biased because I love to talk about video, but if you are a speaker, people want to be able to know what it is that how it is that you deliver your content, which is speak, right? And how better than to put yourself on camera so people can hear you, they can hear your content, and having your own YouTube channel is really the way people are going to find you. Because if someone is searching, and of course it goes without saying, whenever you add a YouTube video, you need to use the word speaker or speaking in the content. So SEO, of course, is a whole nother monster, and we can go into detail on that. But in terms of visibility, if you want to be known as a speaker and you want people to hire you for what it is that you do, you need to show how you use your craft, which is speak. So for me, of course, Blab has been totally fabulous because I have my own show called Mamika TV, where just like you ladies, I love to speak to other people. And it's that visibility of people will be able to hear you in real time. Like now you can hear, this is what I sound like. I have a funny accent. And people,
No, you don't. I love
I'm
it.
from the South, but the way south, past the equator. So people will get to know me from a personal level, and that is much better a way of breaking through the clutter and the noise that's out there. I mean, of course, for me, I've always had, and I agree with you, Jan, whenever a new platform comes out, you want to grab your URL, definitely. Even if you're not on there, just park it. So even if you aren't brave enough to put yourself on camera on Blab or on Periscope, the least you can do as a speaker is have what we would back in the days when I worked in TV production, and we call what we call like a show reel. You need to have some sort of show reel for people to see. And the only the online realty space that you own is your website. So even if Facebook and Twitter and Periscope and Google Plus and YouTube had to close down tomorrow, the only thing that you control is your website. So really what you need to do is you need to look at your website as your silent salesman, and you need to be able to show what it is you do best by having videos. Now, of course, if you're not going to, I'm not saying you have to have 100 different videos. Every time you speak, even if it's not video, at least capture the audio. Like every time I've spoken at any convention, I've always had a lapel mic, preferably try to set up a video. Just I use my own little Sony Handycam in the background, that even if you don't, record the whole thing, at least recording clips from behind the room as people see you, then the people it gives you credibility. If they've seen you speak before, then it's easier to hire you than if you're just starting out. So even if it's a small clip, my number one advice is you need to have an About Me page that's really tailored towards your craft of speaking. And even if it's a minute, it doesn't have to be too complicated. Even if it's maybe 3 or 4 clips of you speaking, it could be your local Toastmasters. It could be, an online platform. Like you can grab video now, like from Blab. You can grab video.
Let me pull you back and just summarize so we don't go too far, because you're making great points, but I want to pick those back up.
Yeah.
But staying with it, it is tough to determine where to begin. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a question for some people that are in here or people that are very seasoned. I know I've started at this platform and then moved to this platform. And then now I'm using I was using Facebook, and I abandoned Twitter. And now all of a sudden Twitter is all I use. And in the past 40 days, I've accumulated like 200 more followers. And also using Blab, I have found it has served me. But I want to talk a little bit about this, is because it's something that I didn't understand when I first started. Whether I use Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or Google Plus, what is the primary thing, despite the social platform, that matters? Mm-hmm. Is it keywords?
Well, I can tell you, I really believe it's being where you'll be found. In other words, where's your market? Whether you're a speaker, an author, a writer, consultant, you need to be visible where your ideal audience is. If you are appealing to people who hire speakers, figure out where they hang out. Is it Facebook groups? Is it Twitter groups? Is it like maybe you should do a Twitter chat? Or it's no point in thinking you need to like throw spaghetti at a wall and just hope it'll stick by just being everywhere because, everyone says you should be everywhere. Obviously,
Right.
what we were talking about before is you need to have your own website for people to go to, but any social media platform you use needs to drive them back to your home base, which is your website. But saying that, like you said, I'm the same way. I kind of like had Twitter, didn't put a lot of effort into it, but now that it's connected with Periscope and Blab, I'm using Twitter more often. So we need to be changeable.
Yes.
We need to be able to move with the times, and as things, and you just go where people are. So it's testing, and I think you will only know this yourself. It depends on what kind of market you're trying to attract. Like, is it high end corporates? Is it smaller groups? Who is your ideal person who's going to hire you? And then you need to figure that out, and then you need to be visible where they are.
So, Joanne, we were talking earlier about LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is another thing where, and I'm just going to be perfectly transparent, I've got a lot of people that follow me and I don't do a damn thing with it. What could I do with it? How could it serve me? How could it serve any of us?
Right. Well, I think what you have to do, though, is, like Mamika said, is that you have to know who you are trying to market yourself to. So are you trying to market yourself to universities? Is it local chambers? Is it the big conferences that are going on that are in your industry? You have to know where these people are and then determine how best for you to get in front of them. So it could be that there are, for example, here locally for Syracuse University, there is a group inside of LinkedIn that has to do with Syracuse University. So you would want to be in there if you want to try to get in front of and see if those people are inside those groups. One of the things you can do is that if you know exactly who you need to get in front of, like a specific person, if you actually get that person's name, if you find them on LinkedIn, you can actually see what groups they're a part of.
Yes, yeah.
And be able to join those groups and then get in front of them somehow, but it's always adding value to the conversation that's already going on. It's not throwing yourself in front of them and saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's about adding to the conversation that's already going on inside one of those groups and getting in front of them.
And there's tons of them because I belong to them. And I got irritated because I was getting all of the emails that when people would post. And so I stopped the emails, which was semi-foolish. So I either have to resubscribe to those emails or start checking those groups because they're constantly networking with other speakers to bring them in other spaces, whether they're whether the organizer or not.
It depends on who that person is, and trying to get a profile of who that specific person is and figuring out where they are on social media and how to be able to get in front of them. And, like I said in the beginning, I know everybody was laughing because I mentioned Google Plus, but I wasn't saying that you need to be active on Google Plus. I'm just saying it's something simple is just grab your profile. Just like grab your profile on Twitter. Why not just get the profile, and it takes you 2 seconds to put your bio up there. And the bios that you have, if they're keyword rich, people are going to find you. If they're looking for a speaker for that industry, just make sure that you continue your marketing around that. And absolutely, for video, putting videos up on YouTube and being able to embed them on your site. But YouTube is a huge search engine. People search YouTube all the time, and they're searching to be able to see what you look like when you're giving your presentation, when you're giving your keynote. People want to see what you look like because they want to say, does this person resonate me? Are they going to do what they need to do for my audience? They're going to want to see you in video. So you need to be on these platforms that are all around video. And that's going to be your Blab, your Periscope, your YouTube, those places where people can go and actually search and see you in action.
So Flirting with Social is asking, and I just ask everyone here, be kind. We're all putting in our opinions and we're doing what works best for us. But Flirting with Social says, why would you create a profile that would look abandoned? And I think I'm hearing you say it's just serving the whole search and keyword function. Is that accurate? Mm-hmm. Does that? Yeah. So, yeah. So I understand that because I have Google Plus too, and I don't use it, but I do have it out there.
But if you're connecting with YouTube, Google Plus really isn't abandoned, because if you're putting things up on YouTube, you can be sending that out to the Google Plus people. And there are Google Plus communities that are out there. I don't personally get involved with them too much, but again, if it's just a matter of getting out there and putting a couple of, it doesn't even have to be Google Plus. It could be a LinkedIn. A lot of people don't even have a basic LinkedIn bio. A lot of people don't grab their Twitter profile for their actual name. Mm-hmm. It's like, at least just get those handles out there. Periscope too. Perfect thing happened to me is when I went to change my name, now somebody took the actual Twitter handle that I wanted. So it's like, get them all up front, mm-hmm. Before you decide to, finalize everything and decide which platform you want to jump into. Because obviously, how difficult is it for all of us to try to manage all these social profiles?
And talking of which, I think what we need to mention is that you need to be consistent, because we need to think as speakers, we are our own brand. We have to think our business and our brand is we are the face. The way we put ourselves out there needs to be consistent. So no matter what platforms you're on, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, use the same URL. Like for me, I want to be known. If I'm a speaker, people are going to hire me as a person, I always use my name. And of course, I'm lucky enough that I have a very different name. So I don't have a problem with someone grabbing it. But either way, you want to have your platforms, even if it's not your name, even if it's your brand name, you must have it the same. Because if someone's looking for you on Blab, it's connected to Twitter, they need to see that brand identity. Then it really helps to entrench the way people see you. So if they associate, they know what it is that you do, and they see you across platforms, that builds that trust factor, and they know you are more reliable that way. So yeah, you pick. And also there's another thing. I know, I'm sure a lot of us suffer from the same thing, like, oh, squirrel, which one should I do first?
What? Yeah. Right.
Exactly. So here's my advice. So this is something I've learned by myself, because I suffer from a little bit of attention, and I need to focus on trying things. So pick one. And they say with Traction, there's a book called Traction. I can't remember the name of the author, but it's a really good read if you want to actually get an idea of how to pick your platform of choice. Is they say you can only really maintain 2, maximum 3. But what you need to do is you need to test them. So instead of like thinking, oh, I need to do this, and oh, I need to do, maybe like say for 30 days, take it to the 90-day approach. For 30 days, you're going to just try out Blab. You're going to get on Blab. You're going to listen to the conversation. You're going to, hop onto other people's Blabs. You're going to, be part of it, start tweeting, get part of the conversation, and see what happens. Yeah. Same thing with YouTube. Take another 30 days and assess, like, okay, and also this is the other thing. What exactly are you trying to achieve? Are you wanting people to, like your Facebook page, or do you want them to join your email list? Do you want them to hire you? What is that final action? And I think if we can backtrack the steps and say, okay, it's like for me, I'm always about email list building, because if I have your email, I can communicate with you. Right. For me, even as speakers, you want to build that email list because it's the only conversation that you can continue offline. So for me, wherever I am on a platform, I'm always offering value to be able to get people into my email list so I can continue the conversation. So whichever platform you pick, think about what it is you want to aim. So say 30 days, I'm going to be in list building mode, and I'm going to try everything and anything to get as many people on my email list. Don't think about selling yet or trying to get yourself booked. Just think for 30 days and then reassess that. And then after another 30 days, try another platform. So after your 90 days, you will have a very good idea, okay, is this what I want to be doing? Is this what's working? Is this giving me the traction I want? And very soon you'll be able to know without a shadow of a doubt what's working and what's not. So you don't have to keep feeling like you're being pulled in 100 different directions, and then you can really focus on the one thing that actually works.
It's interesting you say that, because I had a social media strategist a couple of years ago that was helping me to identify which platforms were best for me. And she offered Pinterest, and I went,
Pinterest? Oh yeah.
All right. Well, the thing is she uploaded all of my videos and she did all of these things, and it didn't pick up traction. And what I think I understand now is that I wasn't into it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I started on Periscope, and I haven't done a Periscope in a long time, but when I discovered Blab, everything just disappeared. And I saw more. There are more people that are visiting my website. I'm selling products without saying a word. People are going to my website, and all of a sudden I'm high again, because I have found a platform that is working for me. And so, right. And I understood going into this, I certainly understood that there wasn't one specific platform or strategy that was going to work for people. And exactly what I wanted is happening. It's going to work for some people. Who do you need to get in front of? So let me ask you ladies this. Right. Oh yeah, flirting with social. It does happen with all of us. I like, so I'm going to speak personally, because why not? I want to be, here's how I see this unfolding, is when I'm primarily on Twitter now, Facebook, which I'm really over, and Blab. What's happening is I'm getting referrals from other speakers for events, and that's working for me. Can either of you speak to how, I don't even know, and I've been doing this for a long time, where the organizers are? I don't think they're penetrated in one area. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So what about a lanyard, like something like that, like a site that actually lists social?
Oh yeah, they have them. Yeah.
You have places like that, but then again, it also depends on industry specific. Like I've been a speaker in the photography industry for 12 years, and we have an annual convention. So for me, I'm always like, okay, when is the annual conventions? I know they're going to be looking for speakers. I look on their emails, on their website, and then I'm kind of finding who books the speakers, and I start to work backwards that way to get on the list. So it's not necessarily, I think we can't assume that it's going to be all in one place. As if it'd be so much easier, right? But we need to kind of like who knows who and who would be connected to who. And the other thing which I learned the hard way is I just failed to ask people, like, hey, I saw you speak at this convention. Can you tell me how did you get connected there? I'd love to be able to offer myself there. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, is it's just really, it takes one by one. It's through networks and connections. So I think, even though you might have, like you said, with Pinterest, trying a strategy, if you're not in it yourself and you can't give your full effort to trying a strategy, or at least being where people are, it won't work. It's not like, okay, let's buy a whole bunch of Google ads and people are going to come running towards us. And I think with speakers, because we are a personal brand, people buy us as what we do. They need to know, like, and trust us. And so we need to give them more reason to know, like, and trust us. So we need to show ourselves and be visible and have those relationships with the people who perhaps are influencers, and not necessarily meaning you're trying to be like a stalker. You want to be able to make those relationships and perhaps help someone because you just don't know. It eventually all starts to work itself out. But just like you said, Jolene, is find something, and if you start to get traction, how can you then 5x that or 10x that, or put all your effort into that one strategy until you can, at least after 30 days, get a good idea of, is this what I want to be doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And for those on the right, you're talking about something which in the beginning, and if you're open to this, please message me on Facebook. I want to do a whole Speaker Pro Blab segment strictly on speaker bureaus, because I know that speaker bureaus serve people. I know everyone's got an opinion on everything. That's why we're here. And Flirting with Social is talking a little bit about it. Coach Walzak is talking a little bit about it. So I want you to know, if you can speak, if anyone in this room can speak to speaker bureaus, are they effective? How have they served you? How have they not? Please message me on Twitter. Let me know you're interested, because I think it's in late October. I'm going to be doing a segment strictly on that. But certainly bureaus. What I want to focus on now is how social, and here's why. This morning in a marketing meeting, which actually happened right here where I am, there was a gentleman to my right, and the presenter, who happens to be this lady right here, she was talking about social media and answering some questions. And when the meeting ended, the gentleman, we'll call him Ed, stood up, and I said, so which social media platform do you prefer? And he just looked at me. No, he was looking for an email address. And I said, just go to any one of our social media sites. You can find it, because I didn't know it off the top of my head. And he just looked at me. And I said, do you use Facebook? And he goes, no, I don't use social media at all. I've been part of this group for 5 months, and I'm shocked by that. So I'm asking this to both of you, and I know the answer, but I love creating the conversation. Can you successfully run a business, speaker or not, without at least one social media presence?
I don't think so. Especially if you are in the kind of business that we're in, which is connecting people. Yeah, it's networking, it's relationships. To me, I would be very hard pressed to, the old ways. Even 10 years ago, you'd go to sign up to your local Toastmasters, or even those networking groups that you happen to go to, and everybody like hands their card and tries to shove it in your face, right? Like really icky. People have become a lot more condescending when it comes to how they want to be sold to or how they want to be approached. And it comes back to the old adage, business is personal. It's not, because that old saying of business isn't personal is completely we've blown that out of the water. We've proven that on social media. Business is personal, and business is like dating. If you want to get hired, don't go up to someone and say, hey, honey, you want to get married? It's like, you all like major creepy, like get away from me. And that's what we do in the old school way of, trying to sell, is that we always want to be in people's faces and thinking, what can I sell? What can I sell? What can I sell? And that's not how it works. You got to think of it as a dating, a wooing period. Like you get to know the person, you ask them for their number, see how you can spend the time, and then you maybe want to go to the second date and start to spend a little more time and then offer value and then hang out. And, rather think of smaller quality numbers than trying to be out there and be all things to all people. Because, this is something that personally I had to make a decision as recent as last week. I deleted 3,000 people off my email list because they just were not engaged. And to me, I was like, surely it must be about the numbers. Yes, we want the numbers on our list. And yes, we want to have access to as many people as possible. But sometimes it's more about the quality of relationships we have. Can we go deeper? Can we then get to know maybe 5 people? And this is where I think masterminds or Facebook groups are working so well, is you can get connected on a deeper level with people who will actually have a far better reach for you than you're trying to be on 100 different places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I know when you were talking, Jolene, about, do people need to be on social media and stuff? One of the things that I always, as the Mamika was saying, kind of like the first date, like you don't propose to somebody marriage on the first date. You have to woo them through your social media. And I always kind of think of social media. If you have people that are, even doing local networking, people go to chamber events and do local networking for the small to medium sized businesses. You're doing the same thing on social media, right? You're networking. You're just networking across the web. You're touching people that it's giving you the opportunity to touch people, but physically, if we go like this, I can try to touch you here, and Gerald and Mamika, but it's all about about networking and about letting people getting to know who you are. And one of the strategies you had asked earlier about the strategies that have worked to get you in front of events or event people organizers is one of the things that I did, and it kind of fell in my lap, but I ended up helping out a fellow business owner that's in the same industry as me be an admin for a Facebook group. And I have been helping them for probably about a year or so, administering and answering questions inside of the Facebook group. And I really got to know and really became really close with the people that were running the group. Well, come to find out, this person also gets picked to speak at a lot of events. So I reached out to him and I said, can you tell me how I can get in front of A, B, and C? And so now those balls are rolling, that wheel is rolling now, is where I'm now getting in front of all these other people who did not know me because he had the connections. So Jolene, it kind of goes back to originally what you were saying, is that networking with other speakers and having them help you and having you help them, it will all just, get us more gigs.
So 2 things. I want to introduce Gerald. Hi, Gerald.
Hello.
I want to answer a question that just came through, and let me throw it that way. And Gerald, you're welcome to dive into it if you'd like, but here's the question. I copied and pasted it, and so I forget who asked it. And I think this is really powerful. How do you make 1,000 people engage? People say build up 1 follower at a time, but people fall off faster than I can keep them engaged. What are we missing when that happens? When they don't stay engaged?
Oh, wow. You're missing follow-up. You're missing actually building the relationship. And I was actually jumping on about the first question you had just asked about,
you can answer that, but damn it, answer this one first.
Okay, I'm going to answer them both. I will answer them both at the same time. Actually, you have to continuously build that relationship. I think people get followers and they kind of leave them be. They don't converse with them anymore. They don't engage in their content. They don't do any of that. They just get a follower and they hope that these people retweet or share their messages, but they aren't sharing to other people. So if you're trying to build a relationship, if you're trying to build a community, then you have to do those same actions that you would do if you were building a community and building those relationships in real life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what was the first question? What was the first question? I don't remember.
The first question you were saying, can you build a business offline without social media? I was going to say, I think they go hand in hand now. I mean, the problem has become that, a lot of people are bad networkers in general. are bad networkers. And if you're a bad networker, you're going to be bad on social media. If you don't understand how to relate and have conversations with people and build relationships, you're going to take it online and do the exact same things. You know, that's the problem that people are having with not social media, but text message marketing. The people that were bad at email marketing are now going to text message marketing and bombarding people with just stuff after stuff after stuff. So it's about understanding how to build relationships. And if you're good at that, you'll be good on social media. You can take that same type of concept. You have to follow up. You have to connect. You have to engage. Allow people to share some of themselves before you start trying to sell them.
Yeah.
So I just think those are the important factors in both of those dynamics.
I have to agree. It's about the whole saying of 1,000 true friends, right? We would rather have 1,000 really engaged people than 10,000 people who are kind of like, yeah, you know, it's like, how does that actually relate to business? And I think we need to remember, and I think we forget that this really easy, is every like, every click is a person behind that click. It's a person that you're engaging with. It's not just another number. And I think if we keep that in mind, that this individual has knows and likes and preferences, that if you can reach out to that person and create that relationship. And yes, unfortunately, the bad news is it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But again, you know, if you can have that view of giving value first, creating that relationship, it's like, you know, then eventually you'll get married to your dream guy or girl. It doesn't just happen overnight.
RD Sales Training says everyone knows it's important to connect, but how? And I love that. I love that because you have to be, in my opinion, authentic. When I was disingenuous and I was, you know, flying by the seat of my pants when I first started, I wasn't me. So I'm not surprised that people weren't reaching out and engaging. And one more thing, I just want to scroll back up to make a comment because he's saying some great stuff. App Laxon, I'm not sure what your name is. Meeting Professionals International, Professional Convention Management Associations. If you're not engaging the conference planning community, you're missing a huge network opportunity. True story. Absolutely. Yep. I think one of the first blabs I did was how to reach out to these places. But that's right. So even if you didn't have that presence at that time, I agree with you. Knock on the doors. Show up. I have sent out proposals after proposals and I want to stab myself in the eye. Nothing happens. And then all of a sudden the floodgates open. And it's because I touch base with them. So to answer the question of how, I'm authentic. I show up over and over again. It can take 3 to 4 touches, sometimes more. I've chased, there's a talk that I'm doing in October that I've been chasing for 3 years. And I finally became the keynote. Now other people will be like, why waste your time? Why? Because I want to be the one in that area that people think about and remember. Yeah. And when I'm done, there's people in that room, and I think most of the speakers in here can say, there's people in that room who are going to come up to me and go, oh my God, you'd be so good at my event. Exactly. So it's about engaging. Yeah.
I would say connection is really about getting to know that person and allowing them to know you. That's how you connect. Like, that's what I feel that Blab does. It takes that connection dynamic to a different level than a lot of what we've had in previous social media, where it's more static. This is dynamic. It's interactive. So people get to engage. They get to feel your energy. They get to see who you are, how you are, and they get to see how you respond when you aren't prepared. You can't prepare for this. You don't know who's coming through this door. You don't know what they're going to be feeling like. You don't know what they're going to say. So ask them questions, allow them to ask you questions. And that's how you connect, because commonality is what connects us. If we can say, oh, you too. So that's what I feel that a lot of people miss in this.
Jilly Sue just said the same thing. Have a conversation, same as you would at a cocktail party. Ask questions about them. People love to talk about themselves, and they do. Don't rock them. And they, asking questions. I know as a coach, when it comes to sales, and I think RD Sales Training would probably agree with me. If you don't, it's okay. I still love you. But when I have a consultation with someone regarding sales, it's question driven, and it's question driven so I can find that sense of urgency, so I can learn more about what they need and then fill that gap to give them what they need.
It's like be as curious as a 5-year-old. Like I have a 5-year-old that I usually have in the afternoon. Mommy, what's that? Why are you doing that? Oh, what is that for? And why are you doing that? Kind of like be that curious that you're asking questions about the other person, what interests them, because people do light up when you start to allow them to have the floor and to start talk about things that they love. You can start to see touch points and go, wow, that's interesting. So tell me a little bit more about that. Like, tell me about your event. Like, who are you aiming at? And, who have you got in organized and how can I help you? often those few words can do a lot for your bank account. How can I help you? And it's just
they love
exactly
talking.
Just be that kind of person, so that when you are on stage, you are the same person that they see on social media. They see whether I met you in the street, or now we're meeting like virtually. So yes, brand consistency and just showing up and being yourself is super important.
Absolutely. Ask genuine questions though. Don't lead in with, one of the worst networking questions I've ever heard, or that were used, that is slowly being dissipated, is, what do you do? That's not how you typically start a conversation with somebody. If I met you on the street, that's not my first thing I would say. Oh, Mimica, what do you do? That's not natural. So people know that that's a setup for you to talk about yourself.
That's what they say.
So have a general conversation. Engage them in a genuine way. You talk to them like you really want to know about them. And then lead into the other things. And that's how you build that connection in that relationship that a lot of people so badly miss a lot of times.
Let me ask this. Talking about social media, we've so far talked about how every platform is different. We've talked about the different people we want to reach. Is there a great truth to the fact that before we decide to abandon something that isn't working, that we continue to spend time with it and give it time, because there's no such thing as instant gratification? And I'm speaking on my own experience, because with Twitter, like when I first started Twitter, I'm like, this sucks. Nobody loves me. No one wants to hear me. But the more time I gave it, the more I nurtured it, the more I interacted, the more people came over here, the more they went to Periscope. And I started to see it grow, and it filled my little heart, because I was giving and they were receiving, and vice versa. So there is no timeline, but can anybody here speak to the fact that when you start a new social media platform, how do you stay engaged with it when you're getting really disgruntled because no one is showing up, or no one's engaging with you, or liking you, or whatever, giving you, what are these things called? Props.
Yes,
props.
They used to call them feels, which I think is, you click on it's almost like, popularity, like, oh, I like what you have to say. Let me click up your face a little there.
Click off your face. Well, the thing is, the way I like to look at it is that when it comes to any of these social media platforms, and I like to think about it as, what type of strategies are you trying with each of the platforms? Because there are so many different ways that you can have a Facebook strategy, right? And there's different ways that you can get people to engage with the stuff that you're sharing on Facebook. Perfect example is video on Facebook. I mean, if you had a quick little minute video of possibly one of the highlights of one of your speaking events and just uploaded that to Facebook, you're going to get a lot more interaction, because Facebook likes video. But when it comes to people, the networking, and how Gerald was saying, you don't come right out and, you ask people the questions and stuff. When people are commenting on your posts, reply back to them. Continue that conversation inside of the comments, and just keep the conversation going. If they answered your question, the next thing you should do is say, oh, that's a great point, or, well, and how did you do this, or, and what about this, and keep them engaging with that post. That is going to keep on just showing up more and more inside of the Facebook algorithm. And that's just an example on Facebook. You can do the same thing with Twitter. You can try sharing different things on Twitter. Try sharing other people's comments. Try replying back to people. Try engaging more in using different strategies. And then if you're exhausted and you really don't think your audience is there, then you might want to try to move on to another platform. But again, I don't think it's necessarily a time frame per se. I feel it's the different types of strategies that you try to use on those platforms.
I would agree. And I'll jump off in a second, because I saw somebody wanted to jump in. But I can just speak from my own story. And I could not stand Twitter. Jesus Christ. Me and Twitter, I wouldn't tweet. You couldn't pay me to tweet or Twitter, nothing. I couldn't stand it. I didn't understand it. My life is not 140 characters. It made no sense to me. I couldn't figure out why you want to tell somebody you're eating a cheeseburger and you see a star sitting over there. I didn't care. However, when I found live streaming a little over a month ago, all of it was connected to Twitter.
Yeah.
And I came onto live streaming, and now my Twitter, I had to open a new account because I couldn't even remember the old one. But but my Twitter exploded.
So now you like it.
Yeah, my Twitter exploded the same way that all the followers on those streaming platforms did. And now I can have those conversations, whereas before I just didn't see how the conversations made sense. So I can definitely say, you know, sometimes you use other platforms to build another platform that allows you to be able to engage people in a more natural and more succinct way.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your input, Gerald. We appreciate it. Thanks for
Thank you so much. All right.
And just to regroup here for those that are just joining us or coming in and out, we're just talking about different strategies that work best with social media, whether it's the platform, whether it's constant engagement. I think the primary theme that's happening here, I'm going to let Jennifer in, is engagement. And I had said authenticity before. You know, if you're not going to engage in get in conversation with people, to let them know that you're a real person, it's all for naught. If you stay hidden behind that screen, and that's not what this is about. This isn't about showing you strategies so you don't get up and start talking to people and engaging with people. This is just, let's face it, we're in business. Most of our businesses are online, and we need to have that presence. So welcome, Jennifer.
Hey, Jane.
What can you
add? Well, I'm so excited to be in here with you, Jolene, because the last time I saw you, you were talking about like how to get speaking gigs, and it was so good. I still have my notes over here. It was so fantastic. It was like I would have paid money for that.
Yeah.
For real. It was so packed with value. But I just wanted to offer up some, I don't know, stuff I've been doing lately to get more engagement or just get some more juice out of the lemon. I think right now it's because people are seeing so much more engagement on their Twitter because of the social streaming that, you know, there's definitely a new excitement about Twitter, or interest in Twitter, I should say, not excitement. It's sort of like there's all this action happening on my Twitter account, but what do I do with it, you know? But I think one thing that's worth noting is that we could go so much deeper. Like on every platform now, we could go so much deeper in like really cool ways. For example, like in Blab, when you schedule a Blab, have you guys been working the room? Do you know what I mean? Like if you schedule the Blab, you can talk to the people who subscribe long before the show ever begins. So I think that's been really fun. The other thing I just learned the other day, which I thought was really cool, was that, you know, when you're scoping and the comments are just flying, you could go back to your catch and actually engage with the people that you never had a chance to speak with.
Those are great points. Yeah, yeah.
And so just sort of taking it like one level down, and then video, I mean, just the video replies that we can do on Twitter now, like with our phones, to just say, you know, after the fact, hey, Mamika, I'd love to be in the Blab with you. And just that eye-to-eye contact. Like, I think we all just want so much more of that. And then the same old, like, routine posting. Today is I'm going to do my Instagram, and I'm going to do my this. It's even with Instagram video, I don't know. It's all blowing my mind right now.
Oh, and this thing is, you mentioned, you know, video, and I get to see the real you, right? I could have been following you on Twitter and hearing your posts and seeing you putting things on, but I don't really know the real person. And that's why I just feel like video is really the way to engage. It gets through all the clutter. You are able to connect with people on a real basis. They get to know you far quicker. It's kind of like speed dating for us business owners, right? Video marketing is, as you said, Jen, is like you can do on your iPhone. In actual fact, I'm waiting to get my new one. I can't wait.
I got a question on the right I want to throw out to you, lovely, lovely ladies. It is from Yaz. Yaz here, she says, or he, I'm sorry, I can't see the picture. Snapchat is becoming more and more popular, and influencers post on it quite frequently. What's your opinion and understanding their impact to their followers, given that we can't know how many followers they have?
Well, I don't know. Snapchat.
I would love help with Snapchat because I haven't been able to figure it out yet.
My 16-year-old daughter is on it every day, and I'm like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I'm doing my Snap story, you know, and it's great because it's kind of appeals to that sort of teenage brain of like, "Look at me, I'm famous for a second."
ABW has said the same thing. She connects it to the youth.
I mean, but the only thing I don't like about it is that it doesn't really save your content. Like for us, what I love about, if you are providing value, like I know, Jen, you agreed with Jolene, she offered so much value in what Blab she did previously, that if you can't save that content, it's like like we mentioned earlier in the beginning of the show, you need, as a speaker, you need to record yourself using either audio or a video and record what you've done, because you can reuse it. There really is, with the likes of all the social media and the different platforms we have, the best way we can do is to really repurpose our content. So like Catch, you can repurpose your content on Periscope here. Now you've noticed on Blab, you can actually directly upload a Blab straight onto YouTube.
I just did that and I put them on my website.
Exactly. So done is better than perfect.
You'll be able to go see like the Blab that Jennifer was talking about.
Nice.
Repurposing. I'm sorry, I got super excited. Carry on.
And the tools are catching up pretty quickly. And I think what's also happened, and I'm sure you guys would agree with me, the last 6 months has been a game changer for lots of businesses, because it's taken away the facade or the mask of the perfectionism. Like, oh, we got to have a perfect website. Oh, we got to have perfect pictures. Oh, we got to have a perfect profile. And I think what it's doing is cutting through the chase. It's like, okay, now we can roll our sleeves up, and now we can connect with real people. Like, who are the real you? Like, who are you really? And do you speak my language? And it's like, we can really go through a speed dating process by showing who we are and using the content, because so many of these Blabs, I'm like, this is like ear and eye candy. I could sit here being glued because the content is that good. So the more we can connect with like-minded people and just be consistent with our brand, I think for all of us, it's just video is really going to be the next thing to really boost everybody's business.
Yeah.
Well, I personally am kind of glad that the Snapchat stuff disappears, because my friend sent me something and I was trying to figure out, and I like pushed the button and I was looking really weird, and it took a picture. And she was laughing at it, and I'm like, I didn't mean to send it. And she's like, that's all right. It's going to disappear after a while.
Yeah.
I'm like, so after that, I'm like, I haven't figured it out. I haven't figured out the buttons, or, personally for me around here for my main business and stuff, my people aren't on Snapchat, so I have not explored Snapchat.
Mm-hmm.
So ABW networking, the answer to your question is, if are your people on Snapchat? It's mostly young people. That's my understanding. The only way to determine that is to dive in and play. But do remember, when you do Snapchat, the content disappears after a period of time. So
Definitely. And we also had a question about using Blab. Can you actually upload it to? And no, you have to be the owner of the account, right? You can't just upload someone else's content. And yesterday, I actually saw a blog post about this, that people were actually hijacking other people's scopes, like, because Catch saves it. So that can be a bit of a problem if you're providing something. And this is why I'm really into branding a lot of my videos. I'm actually testing at the moment. There's software that's available called CamTwist that you can actually download. It takes control of your camera, and you can actually then play live videos and add clips. So my view is, which I'm so excited about, it's going to totally eliminate a lot of my post-production with my videos with Blab, is to be able to play a video, like say an intro, and then have your branding, and in lower thirds. If you notice at the bottom of a screen, a lot of like newsreaders, you have like your title or your web address. That's also been integrated. So I'm going to be testing that, and I'll be updating that too. So how we can, keep brand our own content. But yeah, that's not cool.
And what's that called? I was going to type that in the chat.
It's called CamTwist.studio.com, I think. Yeah. They have different versions for PC, and they have different versions. There's two different ones I'm sort of testing with, but I want to see what's going to make, how can we do this much quicker and faster, right?
The people who were stealing the Blab, the scopes, because mine were stolen, I found out yesterday. They're not actually like stealing it, so it doesn't matter if your content is branded. All my content is branded. It is what they're doing. It's the weirdest thing. Like someone told me about it, and they posted the guy, like he has his face and everything. And what he does is he says, catch Jennifer Lehner's latest video about Twitter advertising, right? And he takes my scope, and it looks like he's giving me props. But what he does is then he directs that traffic to his website.
And he's hijacking your traffic.
And he's done it with hundreds of scopers. So anybody who's in the room, like I'm not a big, it's not like I have a huge following on Periscope, and he found me. So it's worth looking into. And then you have to file a copyright infringement complaint. It takes about 5 minutes. But
so how did you find out he was doing that?
Someone saw it and told me.
Someone told him. Yeah.
You can search by he had my name in there.
Well, I was going to say that would be another good way to make sure you have Google alerts for set up for like your name and stuff like that, so you can see if and when your name is being mentioned. I had something similar to that happen to a fellow YouTuber. I actually saw a video being uploaded, and it said it was her face, but it was underneath somebody else's account, and it was her video, but somebody else was actually using her video and trying to get views and stuff like that by putting them all on this channel. So we all did like a flag and block and reported it, and they ended up having to pull it down, but went back and looked, and this person had literally taken hundreds and hundreds of other YouTubers' videos and just ripped them, downloaded them, uploaded them back up to their YouTube site, and was trying to get, monetization and views from those people's content.
Wow.
So
it's kind of it's like what
it happens all over the place.
Done. Yeah, I mean, it's like the music industry's fought this for years as well, right? People using copyrighted music. So unfortunately, if someone really wants your content, they will find a way. But the best thing you can do is just provide even better value and brand yourself everywhere, be consistent with what you're doing, so they just know, you are the real person. So that's I wish there was almost like a name it and shame it kind of a site, so we can keep an eye on these things.
Everyone's asking is how do you find out? How do you find out? And
somebody here is saying Revvel said, do you want his link? Because evidently she has the link to this guy's site.
Yeah, I think I have it too. Put it in the box.
Yeah, put it in the box so that we can check. Anybody who has content, you can go check.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Awesome.
Well, it's I always try to keep these to 60 minutes, so you come back for more next Tuesday.
Come back for more.
Yeah. So just want to say one final thing. First of all, thank you all so very much. I really appreciate your input. You're giving us value, and that's what I want. I want to give everyone that comes into this community value, so they can improve their businesses, they can improve their speakerhood. And I've got tons of different topics lined up. And what I do is I answer to what you need. But I want to put a question out there for the 26 of you in here. Is anybody in this room a speaker that utilizes speaker bureaus? If so, please message me on Twitter, because I want to do a blab about it. I can't find anybody. It's like, I really want to talk about this. I want to talk about, I get a lot of questions all the time. I personally don't belong to any. I have belonged to a few. I've gotten a few gigs from them. I want to talk to people that use them, make money. How do they work? How do they get in? So on and so forth. So please message me on Twitter. You're welcome, Jennifer, anytime. Awesome. And thank you so much, everybody. And please come see me again next Tuesday. What are we talking about next Tuesday? Don't go. I want to tell you. I want to give you this teaser. I have to look at my calendar.
We're on the edge of our seats.
More speaker stuff.
Next Tuesday. Yeah, it is. Being a coach in the land of speaking. So that is what we're going to talk about is how we can mix coaching with speaking. How can that serve us when speaking runs slow? Can we make money that way? How do we close sales? Different things like this. And we get into the nitty gritty, and I love that stuff. So thank you, everybody. Please follow everyone here on Twitter. Let's stay connected. The goal is to build a community. Have a great Tuesday, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.